Hello and welcome back to this series of how to make videos, which I hope will be useful for teachers and teaching assistants looking for design and technology activities in primary and middle schools. In a previous video in this series I showed you how to make a Viking longboat using a cut out and fold up net that I produced using a program called CorelDRAW. Well, recently one of the teachers here has asked me to come up with something to do with the ancient Greeks. Her class has been reading about Jason and the Argonauts and their hunt for the golden fleece. So I realised that I could adapt the net for the Viking longboat and turn it into their ship, the Argo. Also recently at Ividale we now have colour photocopiers, which is absolutely wonderful. Although perhaps I should produce an uncoloured version of this so that the pupils can colour it in themselves. Well, as with the Viking longboat, I enlarged the A4 net to A3 and I've enlarged it onto card. I've managed to find some slightly thicker white card. This is 280 microns, which will go through the photocopier. Obviously your photocopier might be different. Try and put the thickest card that you can through. As always with a net, where there are fold lines, before you cut it out, it's really worth scoring all these dotted lines. I use a small screwdriver and I use the corner of the screwdriver and a ruler, and we've got two straight lines here to score, and then we've got these lines, these curved lines on the queue, which you have to do freehand. I'm pressing down quite hard like this. This is well worth doing. It makes folding up a lot easier. And that one and that one. And it's also much easier to punch out any holes before you cut it out, and for that I've used another screwdriver that I've sharpened to a point. Obviously you need to make sure that pupils use this safely. I always put something soft underneath, like a piece of plasticine. In this case I'm using a sponge sanding block to punch out all the holes. These are the holes that the oars will be going through. Don't make too big a hole, because if you're lucky the oars will just be able to push through and you won't even need to glue them. So on this design there are 14 oars, 7 on each side, plus there is an additional hole in the stern of the ship for the steering paddle or rudder. That's that one there. Well, having done all that preparation, we can now cut it out, and you should end up with 20 pieces. The two sides of the ship, the keel, the rudder, 14 paddles. These two pieces are optional. They're strengthening pieces which you can glue behind the sides. If you do glue them on, you'll have to punch through the holes again using the same technique with the sharpened screwdriver. I think with this card I don't think I have to use them. They are optional, but if you've got thinner card then they're well worth putting on. Now, gluing this together, we could use stick glue. We actually found that we could use stick glue to glue these main tabs on, and then we used glue guns to glue these curved tabs here. So it's easier to fold up all these tabs. You can see how easily they're folding over. I may have scored a bit too hard there. I hope they don't fall off. press down a little bit too hard, and then fold these up as well. So there you've got your keel. The reason for all these tabs is so that we can get the bows and the stern to curve up. And what we found in the lesson was that we could use stick glue to glue these main tabs on, and quite tricky to get this aligned up. Where it starts to curve there, can you see that? That should line up with that point there. I may well go back to this and put a registration mark on there, perhaps a little white line. So just line that up there and stick that on like that, and then the same for the other side. There we go. Jason and the Argonauts, one of my favourite films, with that wonderful stop motion animation by Ray Harryhausen. Again, it's just where it starts to curve up, that should line up with that point there. So just where it starts to curve there, it should line up with there. I think it's about there. Yes, it definitely needs a registration mark. I'm struggling myself. I think I can compare it with that one to get them symmetrical. There we are. So there we are. There's the sides. That can now be folded up. And now we've got to stick the bows together. This is different to the Viking longboat, because with this one the bows just go straight along like this, and it's the stern that's curved up. So this is where we use the glue gun. We actually got the pupils to bring up their boats, their ships, and we had some adults that actually glued this together for them. This glue gun's being a bit stubborn. Oh, there we go, it's suddenly woken up. So that just goes straight along there like that, and curved inwards. And then the other side, the more you do these, the quicker you get. I'm a bit rusty today. There we go. And then put some glue on the bows as well. We're going to glue them together. So that goes along there like that. There we go. It's not perfect, but I could cut that bit off there and perhaps colour in that white line where I haven't quite got the two sides lined up. And you see that? So we're now going to do the stern. So glue on each of the tabs. Careful not to get glue on your fingers, and then curl it round. I should say that, as with the Viking longboat, I've decided to give this design a flat bottom. Obviously the real Greek ships did not have flat bottoms, they had curved keels. I've decided to do that so that it sits on the table easily and we don't have to make a stand for it. But I did take care to explain to the pupils that the actual Greek ships didn't have flat bottoms like this. There we go. Now we're going to do the other side, and we're going to put some glue along that bow feature there and glue that up. There we go. That went well. And there's our finished hull, and that's the hard work done now. For a mast, I got a piece of 3mm dowel here. No, I beg your pardon, 4mm dowel, glued into a wheel, and then that can be glued there. For the oars, I'll just quickly punch out one hole, at least a couple of holes. For the oars, you could use 3mm dowel, which is available from my technology shop, Or I noticed in my newsagent recently packets of bamboo skewers, which are very cheap, which I think will be ideal because they're pointed. It's very easy to push them through. Obviously that's too long, so you could probably get 2 oars out of each skewer. Glue a paddle onto the end. There we go. Like that. So that's your oar made, and then push that through the holes on the side. And you see that, and that's really tight, and that doesn't need to be glued. So also don't forget the steering or rudder, which goes in that hole there. And as you can see, I've added a mast here and some rigging. So I hope you enjoy making your Greek ship. I will put this template on my website. I might even get round to putting a blank one as well, so pupils can colour in their own. Thanks for watching.